on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My chair's a little too high. Hold on. This was not Mandis sitting here, obviously. There, I've got it all appropriate, so we're ready to go. 622 times we've spent a few hours together on this radio station, and I appreciate every single one of them. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and conveniently, they call this the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Happy to have you with us. We're on a variety of platforms, and I'm going to inundate you with those platforms coming up in just a moment. It is Locks for Trump Day 151. Hallelujah. That means that I continue my support of Donald J. Trump as the next president of the United States of America by refusing to cut my hair until we have a new president-elect. That's how much I hate this administration and how much I am begging for a new one. 151 days I've been growing this hair out, and I just got complimented by the one and only Paul Winkler, and I accused him of trying to grow his hair out as well. Not that he's having the success that I'm having doing said same. All of that to say, glad to have you with us. Thank you for being here. You're invited to be a part of the show at 615-737-9986. That's 615-737-9986. You can call us up. Anyone that wants to give us a buzz, you're invited to do so. You can also hit us up on the membersnutrition.com super text line. That is up and running as always, and that is at the same telephone number, 615-737-9986. Now, you're probably listening on one of these platforms, and if you are, I thank you. If you're listening on the radio on 99.7 FM, most of you do. Thank you. From Southern Kentucky to Northern Alabama to all points in between, we appreciate you being there with us. You can also pick us up on your smartphone or your laptop, anywhere you stream music, news, or information, or a podcast. You can stream Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Type us in that way, and you'll find us. If you don't, let me know, and we'll get on that platform that you happen to choose. And then, of course, there's our own app. You can download us and take us wherever you go. I would encourage that. And, of course, Super Talk TV is always up and running as we do these shows from noon until 3 on a daily basis. Super Talk TV consists of YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. That's the only really time I call Twitter anymore. I call it the X machine because that's what Elon told me to call it. But we call it Twitter when we refer to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch because it kind of rolls off the tongue that way. And when you go over to YouTube or Facebook or those platforms, just like us or subscribe to us or both. We appreciate that. It helps us out, and we appreciate you helping us out. Episode 622, I'm told, is up and running. Although today,
yes, it's up.
I should note that our illustrious chief IT go-to man and engineer, Ian, is working on the stream today. We're doing some different things. We're moving the borders around. We're eliminating, because so many of you choose to, and just let me pull the curtain back here. So many of you choose to communicate on the text feature. The chat feature will still be up on Facebook and YouTube and all of those other platforms, but it will not be up on your screen when you watch the show because that's horning in on the video portion of the show.
Shrinks the visual impact.
Yeah, it shrinks the screen. So the powers that be have decided that because participation is way high over on the super text feature, a little bit lower on the chat feature, and plus the chat feature is an unmonitored, and what do we call it? Not unmonitored. It is It's not filtered. That's what it's not.
Moderated.
Moderated. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Bill. It is a non-moderated chat, and so sometimes things get a little crazy in there, where trolls come along and say nasty things or whatever. So we're kind of moving. That is still a feature, and I still see them from time to time. I can still observe it from here, but you will not see it up on the screen. So we're doing a little work. So if you see some things that look a little different, these are things that are advancing the product, advancing the television side of things. For you masochists in the listening audience that want to see my hair, come on over. We'd love to see you. Hit like, hit subscribe. You will not see Bell K on the television side of things because Bell chooses not to participate on TV, which is why he will always be Headless Bell. Headless Bell does, however, participate in his own way. He'll speak to you on the telephones. He will communicate with you via the radio, and he entitles our television episodes. And today's episode, 622, is entitled
Matt Murphy welcomes permanent co-host Megan the Stallion. Twerk away, peeps.
Tell them hard in this house, tell them hard in this house, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm trying to muddle the word because I don't want people getting mad at me.
Yeah, that would get you in a lot of trouble.
So that's the only lyrics that I think I can repeat from that song.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Mm-hmm. I can't even tell you the title of that song. I mean, WAP. So, yeah. So the same people that are calling J.D. Vance weird are throwing Megan the Stallion. And it's not Megan the Stallion. Don't call her Megan the Stallion. There's two E's. It's Megan the Stallion.
No, I spelled it the.
Did you now?
I'm going to do it my way.
Good for you. So, yeah, she's making an appearance. Did you hear that most of the people that came were told that it was a concert? They were not necessarily.
Yeah.
They were not.
And then as soon as she was done and Kamala started speaking, it's like,
left.
I'm out.
They left. So all of these folks that they claimed, video of the event, if you go and watch it, all these folks walked out after Megan the Stallion finished up her set, and Kamala takes the stage. But they took credit for all of them, boy. I had someone years ago tell me, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Dauntless Don Markwell, one of my mentors in this business. 4010, no, you need to look it up. Cardi B, yes, was a performer on WAP, and it also features Megan the Stallion on the song. So don't tell me it's the wrong artist when you're wrong, 4010. Thank you very much. Yeah. Come at me. I'll come at you back. Wrong artist, dude. WAP. I'll just be accepting your apology, 4010. Once you look it up, it's Cardi B featuring Megan the Stallion on WAP. Thank you very much. Thank you. Where was I? Oh, my buddy Dauntless Don Markwell, who we lost now, my mentor. He was a voice of reason in Alabama for 50 years or more. You cannot, if you try, this is the way he put it. Let me get the quote right. When you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to no one. And I understand that the grammar doesn't quite work. When you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to no one. Kamala Harris is currently trying to be everything to everyone. And so she brings in Megan the Stallion, who was featured on WAP 4010. Oh, 4010 says, keyword there is featuring little man. Are you calling me a little man? Why are we fight? 4010, why we got to fight? Why we got to be that way? Well, we're all good. You and me. I mean, come on. There's some bros in this house. There's some bros in this house. I mean, we don't have to be that way. Just calm down. Calm down. I didn't have the wrong artist. I knew exactly what I was talking about, but it's okay. It's all good. That said, when you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to no one. Kamala Harris is attempting to be everything to everyone. She is attempting to appeal to the young generation. She's attempting to appeal to younger, particularly African-American voters, trying to show up support there. Similarly, they're repairing her record with the reclamation of Candidate Zero ongoing on the part of the mainstream media and other organizations, mostly involving Kamala Harris herself. In the meantime, when's Kamala Harris going to talk to the press? When is Kamala Harris going to sit down with the mainstream media? Anyone in the mainstream media, for that matter. When is she going to have a one-on-one? Or when is she going to, better yet, have a press conference? She is now the presumptive Democrat nominee. No other Democrats of note qualified to even be considered for nomination during the Democrat coronation. Meanwhile, 1827 says, hey, be careful, 4010 might be Bob. It's true. Bob's talking me down, baby. Talking me down. No, they believe that they can get away with this without having to face the reality of the changing narrative of Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is sitting down in front of the Black Journalist Association. I think that's today, if I'm not mistaken. Trump ain't afraid. Trump will go anywhere and do anything. I mean, he's going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, for goodness sake, with the same Secret Service detail that allowed him to get shot in the head a little over 2 weeks ago. In the meantime, I have a question about that, too. We'll talk about that on the show today. We continue our speed candidating. Speed candidating. As I announced yesterday, it's election week. It culminates tomorrow on election day. Hope you all go out and vote. As they say in the state of Tennessee, vote early, vote often. We are not scheduling any candidates for interview either today or tomorrow, but any candidate that wants to call the radio show like all of you do on a regular basis, 615-737-9986, I will allow you an opportunity to speak to the voters in your individual districts. No matter how small your election may seem to others, it is important to us. So give us a call at 615-737-9986, or whether you be in the, I don't know, you're running for Tennessee Senate, you're running for Tennessee House, you're running for council, you're running for mayor, you're running for dog catcher, I don't care. We'll talk to all comers. But what you have to do, the rules are simple. You have to call in like anyone else at 615-737-9986. You have to sit in line like anybody else. I'm not going to keep you there for any undue amount of time. And then, of course, you have to be interesting. If you start boring me, you get a warning. Second warning is a hang-up. But you get 5 minutes of time to talk about your candidacy. So there you go.
I'm really embarrassed to admit this, but voting that's over tomorrow. Excuse me. Wow. That voting is over tomorrow, right?
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. So the primary, it's primary on the federal level, and it's very confusing in the state of Tennessee, I'll be honest. So when we had the presidential election, or the presidential primary back in March, whenever it was, April?
Yeah.
We had local primaries then. So this is a local general that's coming up. So there are local races that will be on the ballot tomorrow that are general election races.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I'm embarrassed to say I haven't voted yet, and I guess I'm going to try to do it tonight after.
No, you can't do it tonight.
Oh, that's right. They have that.
They have yeah.
So I'll have to do it.
Got to do it tomorrow.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
Well, you can do it tomorrow. What are you doing tomorrow? You're going to the doctor, right?
Right, so I can do it in the morning. Yeah.
Your wellness checkup. Bell decided to go to the doctor during the show, everyone. He doesn't love you guys like I do. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, I'm off Friday. I was getting on you because you chose to be off when I was. Why didn't you just do your wellness check? We have to do an annual physical. I always say that wrong. Word wrong. For insurance purposes, and you're doing yours tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
See, I didn't know like I told you, I didn't know when the deadline was, and that was the first date they had available. So I'm just like, give me that.
And you were unaware that I was going to be off on Friday because why would I bother telling the executive producer of the show these things?
Yeah, and I booked my wellness exam like 2 months ago.
Because you have to. And that brings me to this question, and I know we have much to discuss. The media refuses to talk about the growing conflict in the Middle East, which could escalate into a regional or if not global war. There is a danger of that going on right now. What with the Hamas leader getting taken out. Hallelujah. Kind of get a little what? But that puts us on the brink of war? Maybe. In the meantime, no one in the mainstream media seems to want to talk about what's going on in Venezuela. And I understand that it is a long way away, but Venezuela matters because Venezuela is what America is going to be in the next 25 years. I'm telling you, folks, I am elephantine when it comes to the past, and I'm Nostradamus when it comes to the future. And watch Venezuela. Venezuela is a perfect example of what happens when people lose their rights. The government doesn't just give them back. Once you lose your freedom, once you lose liberty, you don't get it back without blood. Let me say that again. Make sure that everybody in the back can hear it. Once you lose those God-given rights, once you lose liberty and freedom to make choices for yourself, for your family, for your future, you don't get it back from the government through the vote. You get it back on the streets, through blood in the streets. And I can give you example after example after example, including the United States of America and the American Revolution as a pretty good example of how all of that works. And it's going on in Venezuela, and nobody seems to support those who are taking to the streets and are being slaughtered. They're killing people in Venezuela for having the audacity to tell the truth about what's happening down there. And they have the audacity to fight for their freedoms. So I know that those very important things are going on. But I have a very simple question to you. And I don't know that we have an answer for this, or maybe it's not the time or the place. But I've been in Nashville, Tennessee now we're going on 3 years. This November will be 3 years. Believe it or not, time flies when you're having a good time, and I've been having a ball in Middle Tennessee, an absolute ball. I've yet to find a doctor in Middle Tennessee. Remember when I tried to do this about a year and a half ago and I realized I didn't have insurance?
Yes.
So I'll tell you what. We'll take a break. I'll tell you the story.
See, that's why Bernie Sanders is your guy, man. He's there for you.
That's exactly right. That's why we need more Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, universal health care. I don't understand what it is about scheduling a doctor that takes so long. But maybe someone has an answer for me. Maybe there's a doctor in the listening audience that can help me out. 615-737-9986. Just getting things underway. It's 1222 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and Matt Murphy for Efficient Heating and Cooling. My man, Jeff Eddy, is here for you. I like to say if your AC is not ready, call Jeff Eddy. It's true. Jeff Eddy can come and solve what ails your AC. And sadly, most people in the HVAC business, they default to replacement because it's easier. They make more money that way, and frankly, it's they don't have to worry about something going wrong down the road, or at least they feel like they don't have to worry about that. Well, with Jeff Eddy, he understands that you're a baller on a budget, and he gets that you want to save money and you want to get maximum life out of your AC. So if your AC is not working as it should, call Jeff Eddy. Allow him to maintenance first. And that's never over $125, no matter how many units you have at your residence. And then he can diagnose whatever might be going on within that unit. And from there, he's going to talk to you and give you some simple, easy to understand, checkpoints. Here, we can do this, we can do this, we can get you another season. Maybe you've got a couple more years, or perhaps it's time to replace. I trust Jeff Eddy with my AC and my heat, and I know that you can trust him as well. Go to efficienthvac.net. EfficientHVAC.net or 615-784-4424. 784-4424 for Efficient. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin, and I strongly encourage you to contact Dr. Gill if you're experiencing any pain on your person. Now, obviously, chiropractic pain, spinal in nature, back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, anywhere between the neck and the waistline, you know what to do, right? You know you need the Dr. Gill Center in your life. But really anywhere else that it hurts. I mean, the spinal and chiropractic care technology has gotten to the point where they can also do soft tissue. And so if anywhere that your body moves, right, whether it's your hip or your knee or your elbow, they can assist you there as well. They helped my shoulder, they helped my neck, and they helped my lower back. But also soft tissue with their red light laser therapy, their Class 5 laser system. I mean, they got it all at the Dr. Gill Center, and it's ready and available for you. And it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg either. The Dr. Gill Center charges less than $50 for an initial consultation. You walk in, they'll go through the consultation, they'll talk with you about your needs, they'll get some x-rays for you, and you will have your initial appointment right then and there as they work to get rid of the pain without pills, without needles, and without surgery. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill, 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838. It's the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin.
Coming up at 12:30, speculation continuing to grow as to Kamala Harris's VP pick, and Delta Airlines, they want somebody to write them a check. We'll have those stories at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. So here's the question. So, little backstory. When I first came to Tennessee, I had a great doctor back in Birmingham, Dr. Karen Vine. She was fabulous. She was very straightforward. She was very matter of fact, and I kind of appreciate that in my doc. And so I hated to lose her, but obviously can't go back and forth from Nash to Birmingham. So I was looking for a new doctor, and I found one in Mount Juliet. I thought I did at least, at a larger clinic. They had a number of different doctors, and this particular doctor was, quote, accepting new patients. And they, quote, accepted a new patient within like a month. More on that in a moment. And so I went not this past January, but January before last. So not January 2024, January 2023, I went for my wellness check, and that's when I realized I didn't have insurance anymore. Because in the transition, despite the fact that I was working for the same company in Birmingham, during the transition between Birmingham and Nashville, somehow I didn't check an appropriate box, I'm told, and so I canceled my insurance with the company. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So I got all of that fixed and worked out and settled, but I've yet to find a doctor, and it's time for our wellness check. Don't we have to have that by September 1, right? I think that's right. September 1st, I think it's correct. I'm asking Bell, but he's not listening to the show right now, so that's okay. That's okay. I think I'm right, and I'll just talk to myself over here. It's okay. So I need to get the wellness check done, plus I got a couple of things going on that I want addressed. So I have a doctor that is recommended to me by a friend. I'll tell you who the friend is, Cameron Smith. I asked Cam, and he said, no, I have my doctor, and I love my doctor, and he's taking patients, and let's go. And I said, okay, let's go. And he said, he's taking patients. And I said, all right, that's great. And so I call. And I said, hello, I'm calling to get a new appointment. I'm a new patient for Dr. So-and-so. And this was like 3 days ago. And I was told, this is Monday, not 2 days ago. And I was told, yes, Dr. So-and-so is taking new patients. We're scheduling patients right now for January. And I said, and I was kind of laughing. I said, well, that's not really taking new patients, is it? January? I said, so he's not really taking new patients. And she goes, no, he's taking new patients. I know it's a long time.
He's taking new patients next year.
And I didn't get into it with this person, but I'm thinking, what in the world? I mean, I guess maybe if I'm unsatisfied with my current GP and I want to go to somebody else, I could wait that long. But on what planet could I wait that long to tackle an issue that I think I've got going on in my person or on my body? I mean, I just don't understand that. I don't understand why it takes so long to get in with a doctor. Do we have a shortage of doctors?
Well, you know how you fix this, right?
Socialized medicine?
More government, baby.
Make the doctors take me sooner. I demand government action.
Since it wasn't government that caused all this crap to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, of course not. Government didn't do this to begin with. Come on, man.
It's all the regulations and the administrative bureaucracy they forced on these people. And they've also allowed a lot of these companies to consolidate to the point where they don't want competition.
What I want to know is if this is typical amongst people in Nashville, that you're trying to find a doctor and you're told that you have to wait 6 months to get in with a doctor. And don't even get me started on, I'm sick, I want to go see my doctor. No, we can't take you until a month and a half from now.
Well, just for my wellness exam with the doctor I've been with for 4 years, I called 2 months ago to get my appointment, and tomorrow was the first day that was available 2 months ago.
It is fascinating to me that even if you have a GP, like I had Dr. Vines, and I love Dr. Vines, but you had to schedule her 2 months out too. So if I get sick, I was told by my doctor to go to the Doc in the Box. If I get sick, I'm told by my doctor, well, you should go to the 24-hour clinic.
Yeah, to a doctor you don't know and who has no case history on
What
you.
are you for? I thought you were here for me when I'm sick. Apparently you're not. Apparently it doesn't work that way anymore. I don't get it. 1232 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Maybe you guys do. Here comes Jay Harper with the news.
$12:33. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It's mostly sunny and getting hotter. We're at 90 degrees, but keep in mind we still have the prospect of those intense heat-induced storms popping up here later on this afternoon. So just stay by your radio. We'll have a full forecast coming up for you in a few minutes. A source telling ABC News that Vice President Kamala Harris and her future running mate will start campaigning together next week in Philadelphia. That choice is fueling speculation that Harris could pick the Pennsylvania governor and rising Democratic Party star Josh Shapiro for the ticket. ABC's Mary Alice Parks reports.
The campaign said not to read too much into the fact that this campaign blitz next week is going to start in Philadelphia. But really what we know is that they're just going to hit the ground running. They're going to blitz 7 battleground states next week, we are told, from Arizona to Philadelphia and everywhere in between. And that the vice president is going to be appearing alongside her running mate.
We now turn to that Delta Airlines issue that forced them to cancel a whole bunch of flights here a while back. They want compensation from the cybersecurity company that caused that global IT meltdown earlier this month and crippled the airline for days.
Delta Airlines has now hired famed attorney David Boyce to represent it in seeking compensation from CrowdStrike and Microsoft. No lawsuit has been filed, but Delta CEO Ed Bastian tells CNBC the tech companies have offered nothing but consulting advice to the airline to make up for the days-long outage. He says in 5 days, Delta lost $500 million during that outage, and 40,000 servers had to be brought back online by hand.
That is Alex Stone reporting, and that is your latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
You know what I ought to do, talking about medical care and your doctor? I ought to get Pat Davis on top of this and get him to call around and see if he can get me scheduled in with the doctor. That's not what Pat does, but, you know, he does what he does so well. Maybe he could do this better than me. Pat Davis and yourhealthplanman.com. Let's talk about it. So most people believe that once you have a health care plan, you're kind of just stuck with it. and you don't really think about the amount of money you're paying and the type of coverage that you're getting. But did you know that there are plans that exist that don't cover abortion and a lot of other things that are required under something like Obamacare? You heard it right. If you're 60 years old, you don't have to pay for maternity coverage or other things that you're never going to need. If you're tired of paying for years on dental insurance, only to have a small percentage of coverage for major stuff, all dental insurance works that way with maximums of $1,000, $1,500, or $2,000 a year. There's a much better alternative that can pay 100% with no gimmicks. Friends, I encourage you to talk to your healthcare concierge, yourhealthplanman.com. Pat Davis and his team can offer incredible alternative health plans so you don't have to go through the government, so you don't have to deal with what you currently have. You don't have to continue with your COBRA. Let's make the call that so many others have made. 855-4-PLAN-MAN. 855-4, the number 4, PLAN-MAN. Give them a call today or go to yourhealthplanman.com. That's yourhealthplanman.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. You see where Kamala Harris last night in Atlanta after Megan Thee Stallion got off stage and everybody left? She announced that she was going to solve the southern border problem. She actually said that. She said she's going to take care of the southern border. It's a strange world we live in. We'll discuss more on that in coming moments as we continue to talk about the reclamation of Candidate Zero on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yeah, there you go. Right now, doctors in Nashville. But first up, Frances in the borough wants to talk about voting tomorrow. Hello, Miss Frances. How are you?
Hello, I'm well, thank you.
What's on your mind?
Well, I was concerned whenever y'all were talking about voting a minute ago about dates, and I want to make sure people are aware. Tomorrow is the only day left that they can vote in this election, and a lot of people completely disregard this one because they think it's not important. This is the general election for the local offices. Those are the people that affect your day-to-day life and make decisions like, where are we going to put up a traffic light? How much are we charging in property taxes? Those kinds of things are important. But it's also also a federal and state level primary election. And in Tennessee alone, there are 16 state Senate seats that are on the ballot this year, and 99 state representative seats are on the ballot, and they're in the primary election for this. And these matter a lot. A lot of times it's the primary that's going to decide who the next office holder will be. In some of those primary elections, there's not an incumbent. In some of them, there are heated races going on, so amongst primary contenders. So those are important elections for people to vote in. So make sure you research your candidates, and then please go vote.
Yeah, I certainly hope you don't believe that I was diminishing the importance.
No, I certainly don't.
Okay.
I just want to make sure people understand. I know you would not do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is for newbies that come into Tennessee. It's a little bit confusing, but I think, it's the general for local elections is tomorrow. The primaries for state house elections, and for anything else, that would be the primary for tomorrow.
State Senate and the federal primary is tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are all important.
Well, very good, Ms. Francis. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate that. I mean, and I certainly hope that I have not in any way expressed anything other than a desire for you to go and vote. I don't think that's what Francis was saying, but so be it. Yeah, I mean, yes, Francis's point is well taken, that voting is very important in a representative republic or a constitutional republic. And you need to go vote. And if you've not done so already, you need to go do it. Now, if you do not see your candidate on the ballot in your House race or in a Senate race, that perhaps means that they do not have a primary challenger in that particular race, and they may end up on the general election ballot happening in November. So some of these races that we've talked about obviously are there and present. I mean, we've discussed the, good example, the Courtney Johnston Andy Ogles contest in the 5th Congressional District. That's a hotly contested contest. Courtney's got a lot of money. She's spending said same. Andy trying to secure his second term as a House member in the 5th Congressional District. That's a good example. Another good example on the state House side that is a primary is this Senate District 18 in Sumner County. That's a pretty hot and heavy race with Chris Spencer challenging the incumbent, Feckless Farrell. I call him Feckless Farrell only because he calls himself Fearless Farrell. Listen, I don't care where you are on that race. And I've had good people that I appreciate and have respect for tell me that Farrell's a good guy. And I fully expected to be able to present Farrell Hale to the listening audience. It is a hotly contested race. There are a lot of people that are putting their money and their reputation behind Chris Spencer in this race. I've had Chris Spencer on this show on numerous occasions, so much so that the last time I had him on, I said, Chris, I got to get Farrell in here before I have you back on, just in the interest of due diligence and fairness for the district. He said, yeah, I understand. Get him on here. Ask him some questions. That'd be great. I've called Farrell Hale on several occasions. I've texted him on multiple occasions, and he won't return anything. He won't return any level of communication, which, I mean, just tell me no. If the answer is no, just tell me no. Tell the people no. No. Yeah, that's what I said. I just said that. In the meantime, Kathy is in Franklin next. Hey, Kathy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you.
I was calling regarding your comment on primary care physicians and having a difficult time getting in. I work for a group of physicians, and right now our average wait time is close to probably around January. And part of the problem is we have had such an influx of people moving to the Middle Tennessee area. We do not have enough doctors to take care of all of those people that are moving in that are needing new primary care physicians, because we are short on a state, a local, and a national level for primary care physicians. So when you have that many people moving into this area, it's hard to get them all in. We just don't have enough doctors.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know what to do about it except just to accept that we need to get more doctors in and around our area. I mean, you said it, and I just, it's frustrating. It it doesn't prevent it from being frustrating, though, Kathy. I'll tell you that. When you're someone that's I'm just trying to find a doctor. And when I'm told that I
hear it all day long, and it's so frustrating because we just can't accommodate everyone. And we do our best. And, of course, we have the wait list and everything else. And if somebody doesn't, if they cancel, we try to get you in. But, yeah, if you will send me your contact information, I'm happy to get you in.
Well, I mean, and I'm not trying to jump the line either, Kat. I mean, I appreciate that. Hey, hit me up if you believe in the doctors that you work with. Do hit me up at Matt Murphy Show on social media or Matt at Murphy Show on email, and let me know who you work with. I'd love to. I'd love to give a call. I mean, because I need someone. I'm not necessarily asking for that, although I appreciate it and I thank you guys for your recommendations and your suggestions. A lot of people are recommending Grace Point Health. I have insurance, so Grace Point Health, I understand they get you in quickly, and that's great, and I hear good things about them as well. And I know they've been sponsors of Super Talk in the past at some point at some point in our history. But, I mean, I do have insurance, so I don't know how that works, But my point is not to jump the line. My point is not to have a doctor call me and go, "Oh, Murphy, I'll get you in tomorrow." That's not why I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing it up because if I'm experiencing this, I feel like a lot of other people are probably experiencing this as well. And I just wonder, is it just the nature of Tennessee? Is this a nationwide phenomenon? Is it the way that the world is going? I mean, frankly, there are so many ways that our medical industry is screwed up. I can't even begin to tell you how frustrating it is. And all I want to do is go see somebody. All I want to do is go sit down with somebody and tell them the few things that I have going on and get to the bottom of it. All I want is for somebody to look under the hood and let me know what's going on under the hood. That's all.
Have you seen the plan that Biden and Harris unveiled to remove medical debt from people's credit scores?
I think I have, yes.
The whole point of doing that is to make it easier to just not pay your medical bills, which will then start bankrupting and financially impacting healthcare providers, which then means there'll be fewer of them. And then at some point, government can step in and go, "Look, man, the system's failed. We got to take over." And this is part of that overall arching plan, is to get the system to fail so that they can take it over.
Well, yeah, I mean, the design of Obamacare was to fail.
But the regulations, even before Obamacare, you can go all the way back to the HMO Act of 1969. It has been going on that long that they want to overburden the system to the point where the government just is like, "Hey, I'm your savior here now."
Right. We'll solve all of this. We'll clean it all up with socialized medicine, which doesn't work and which steals from the life of the doctors themselves to the point that you get fewer and fewer doctors. And I'm being inundated on the membersnutrition.com super text line, and I appreciate all of you. Y'all are very kind, offering me some suggestions and solace. Many of you saying that it is a nationwide issue, but it is particular to Nashville because of the influx of individuals coming in. 3514 writes in and says, "I don't really like my GP, but I don't want to search for another one." So there you go. 6 months for my GP that I've had for 3 years, he says. Trevor writes in and says, "I bet the illegals have no problem getting a doctor's appointment. The illegals don't get doctor's appointment. They go to urgent care or they go to the emergency room, which overburdens urgent care and overburdens the emergency rooms." This seems to be a fairly recent phenomenon over the last 10 years, though. And am I wrong? I don't go to the doctor very much. I mean, I just rub dirt on it and move on. I mean, once again, I haven't been to the doctor in, over 3 years because I haven't needed to go. It feels like a relatively new phenomenon that even when I have a doctor, when I call my doctor, they say, "Well, we can't see you until next month." Well, I'm sick right now, and you're my doctor.
Well, that was another after effect of Obamacare, was that it limited the supply, so there's less competition. And there's fewer doctors available for you to go see. And that's just the ramifications of that process.
Well, it's kind of like they're pushing us to the walk-ins, though, on purpose. I'm talking about the doctors, too. If I call my doctor and I say I'm sick, I need to schedule something, and I understand when they say, well, it's Wednesday, we can get you in next Wednesday. I kind of get that, but when they tell me, well, we can get you in September 4th,
right?
Well, what you're telling me is go to the walk-in clinic,
right? And
is what you're telling me.
I think if you looked into it, and I specifically haven't, but if you did, you would see that a lot of those urgent care centers, which charge more than an average doctor visit, are owned by the same companies.
Probably so. I just want to know if there's any collusion going on.
Oh, I guarantee you there is.
Like with doctors in the pharmaceutical. I'm not blaming any particular doctors when I say that, but I just wonder that.
I think one of the few things government has a job to do is be a referee in the marketplace. You don't pick winners or losers, just call balls or strikes.
Yeah, but
government's allowed that kind of collusion to go on for so long, and now they get to say, oh, it's out of control over here. Well, you people are the ones that let it get out of control.
So, right. And you realize medical care is the only thing that you do in your life that you don't know what it costs up front. Have you thought about that? Like, everything I do in my life, if I take my car to the shop and there's a problem with my car and my mechanic says, hey, it's this or that, well, how much is that going to be? Well, it's going to be $800. Okay, well, okay.
And a large amount of the time when you walk in, it says alignment, $69.
Yeah, there's a menu.
Big Mac, $15.22.
Medical care is the only thing in your life where you walk in and all they want to know is how much your copay is, and they charge you your copay. You have no idea what the service that you're getting costs. And that's a part of the problem, honestly.
And that's because they have so many different deals with so many different insurance companies. One insurance company's probably negotiated a different price than the next one, so they can't tell you till they look at it's just stupid.
I just want to go. I just want
to go to the doctor.
I just want to go to the doctor, man. It's 53 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny, getting hotter, 91 degrees currently. A full forecast is coming up. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump addressing the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago today. ABC's Catherine Falders, she has more.
This isn't a typical venue for him, especially as it relates to sitting down with reporters, including our own Rachel Scott. He's essentially sat down with outlets that are more conservative, that he views as friendly to him, if you will. And so there's that element of it. So it would be intriguing to hear how he answers the questions. But on the other hand, it also comes as the Trump campaign has been trying to court black voters more.
Now in South America, at least 11 people are dead and hundreds have been arrested in protests over Venezuela's contested presidential election. Protesters have clashed with security forces as foreign governments are urging President Nicolas Maduro to release evidence supporting his claim to victory. ABC News' Maria Elena Salinas reports.
There's already almost 8 million Venezuelans that have fled their country, somewhere between 300 and 500,000 that have come to the U.S., according to Border Patrol. And many have been allowed in pending asylum requests, mainly because the U.S. does not have normal relations with Venezuela. So there's no extradition treaty between the two countries, and the U.S. considers that many may have legitimate concerns for their safety at home. One of the requirements for asylum.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy. Tennessee Men's Clinic is an organization that you can get into swiftly. We've been talking about that on today's program. Yes, you can call them and get in either tomorrow or next week, early next week. They'll schedule that appointment with speed and efficiency and make sure that you get a qualified urologist to look you over, man, to find out what's going on in your world. If you feel low energy, if you don't know why, if you can't explain why you don't have the motivation to do the things that you used to have the motivation to do, don't just make excuses and believe that it's a matter of age. It's not. It could be something going on inside of your body, whether it's T-level or other things, and they can identify those things with their qualified urologist at Tennessee Men's Clinic. 2 locations to serve you. One's in Cool Springs, the other in Midtown. And available appointments right now at 615-208-9090. 615-208-9090. Men, don't wait. Let's solve this issue. Let's get past this issue. Let's make it right. With the Tennessee Men's Clinic, go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com and tell them Matt Murphy sent you. 615-208-9090 to schedule an appointment today. Here we are. Here we go. Hour number 2 of the Matt Murphy Show. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll crank things back up, and we'll get back on the phones here presently. 615-737-9986. As we continue election week, it's speed candidating on the Matt Murphy Show. an opportunity for you candidates to call us and let us know where you're calling from, what race you're running in, and you know, you can just make your pitch to the voters to get out and vote for you tomorrow. I understand that we're going through a dead zone right now, but voting day is tomorrow, obviously, for all of us across the state of Tennessee, and we encourage you to, as they say, vote early and vote often. We've been telling you about the effort to repair Kamala Harris's record. We call it the reclamation of Candidate Zero. We call Kamala Candidate Zero because Kamala has received no votes. Zero represents the amount of votes that she's received for President of the United States, either in her run in 2019/2020. She really quit before the 2020 election actually got going. She received no votes there. She was polling at about 2%. And now she has received no votes, no direct votes. Kamala Harris is asking supporters to sign up to her website right now or some sort of mailing list in order to find her vice presidential selection. I want to deal with that real quick while we're on it, and then we'll deal with some other things involving Kamala. So I went out on a limb earlier this week, and I said I thought the dark horse selection for Kamala Harris would be Pete Buttigieg. I don't think I'm going to be right. I'll stick by my pick until I'm proven wrong. I don't think I'm going to be right because I think it's pretty obvious that she's selecting Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, for a couple of reasons. One, she needs Pennsylvania. And she needs to convince the people of Pennsylvania that she's not what she has always said she was, which is anti-oil, anti-coal, anti-energy, anti-fracking. She has repeatedly over the years explained to people in Pennsylvania and West Virginia and Ohio, all of these areas that are largely coal country, energy country, whether it's fracking for oil or whatever. She has said over the years that it's time for you guys to find new jobs. It's time for you guys to find new employment elsewhere. It's time to close those industries down. She has stated on record that she is against fracking. She has stated on record that she wants to shut fracking down. Yet now, as the reclamation of Candidate Zero continues, by the way, I'm being told that people hear that horn and they think they're getting pulled over. I don't know why, but several people have begged me not to do it anymore. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, folks. I'm sorry. You need to slow yourself.
If it sounds that convincing, pull over.
Yeah, you need to slow yourself down. Her reclamation continues. The next phase in it, I'm going to predict it for you, will be to claim that she has this big momentum and a big lead. So they repair her record by saying, well, no, she never said that, despite what you see, despite what you hear in circles like the Matt Murphy radio show and elsewhere, despite what your actual ears heard, despite what she actually said regarding these subjects, she didn't believe that. Last night, she's on stage saying that she's going to fix the border crisis. What in the hell are you talking about? You and Joe Biden created this border crisis. You were the border czar, despite the fact that you're begging people to forget all of that. Yet here we are. So while I have selected, I thought that Pete was a dark horse candidate because he checks a few boxes that Kamala feels like she needs to check in her world because they're all about diversity, they're all about DEI, and they're all about identity groups. I think it will ultimately be Josh Shapiro for a couple of reasons. One, the primary indicator, she's making the announcement in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so either one of two things is true. Either she's selecting Josh Shapiro as her running mate, or she's picking her running mate in that state, particularly so that Josh Shapiro will appear on stage with them and be the dutiful soldier and act like he's very approving of it. And yay, we're so happy about it and all of that. I think it's probably the former, not the latter. I think she's probably going to select Shapiro. Now, some have suggested, well, Josh Shapiro is a Jewish American. How's that going to play in places like Michigan and other parts of the country where there's a large Muslim population, and those individuals are pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, even anti-Israel? Democrats have a tendency to fall in line. Republicans fall in love, and Democrats fall in line, folks. There is a belief amongst Camp Harris, I am told, that these individuals who are all in on Palestine, that she can wink and nod at these people and they will understand what that means. In other words, that Democrats have this ability that they just kind of wink at one another and go, you know, I'm going to have to go over here and say a few things that I know you don't support or approve of, but just hang in there with me and you'll know the truth when I become president of the United States. They do it all the time. They don't really have any core convictions. And so they fall in line with a little more regularity. Whether that is the case, whether that happens in this case remains to be seen. But I think that's a calculated risk that they're willing to take. In the meantime, speaking of Hamas and Israel, that part of the world is absolutely blowing up right now. Where's Joe Biden? You know, I am against any boots on the ground in the Middle East on the part of the American military. Outside of those, you know, posts that we have already established, obviously. I do not want any boot-based engagement on the part of the United States military in conflicts that can easily be handled by those more directly involved. In this case, obviously, we're talking about Israel and the state of Israel. That said, an absence of an American presence here is going to create potentially more broad-based war. Hamas began this conflict on October 7th. They decided to lash out at the Israeli people. They decided to kill Israelis. They decided to rape Israelis. They are holding Israelis and others, Americans included, hostage right now. And Israel is fighting back with everything they have. To the point that after Hezbollah, under the direction and with the support of Iran, bombed children on a soccer field and killed 12 of them, injuring many others, Israel has lashed back, and rightly so. And they slapped down the leader of Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu spoke out earlier today. And while not mentioning the specific strike against the Hamas leader, he did speak of Israel's recent targeting of Iran-backed Houthis and a strike against a key Hezbollah commander, Fuad Shakur, who was killed earlier in the week in southern Beirut, Lebanon. The prime minister made no mention of the strike on the Hamas political leader, Ismail Haniyeh. I don't know how to pronounce their name. It's Hamas political leader, Great Googly Moogly. Israel has not claimed responsibility for that attack or for that death. I'm not going to pretend like I care. As a matter of fact, I call it a failure of mine, if you will. But I consider the world a better place without scumbags in it. And anyone who is the political leader of Hamas gets everything that's coming to them. Hamas killed indiscriminately innocent people on October 7th, and they've done so over their entire life. This is a terrorist organization. I'm not going to cry one single tear over the death. You can call it an assassination or whatever. I'm not going to cry phony tears when I hear that an evil person has left God's green earth. I'm not going to do it. But what it does do is create a dynamic by which Iran might become directly involved. And if Iran becomes directly involved, what happens then, particularly in an absence of American leadership? We don't have a leader that's handling this situation. You think Anthony Blinken's handling it? Joe Biden's MIA. And no one in the media seems to care about Joe anymore. Nobody in the media seems to care about Joe anymore. In the meantime, fair warning, Bell, we may take some of this. Donald Trump is set to take questions at a convention for black journalists, and I am very curious how this goes for him. So we might be taking some of that live out of Chicago, Illinois, in a little bit on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, your telephone calls. It is election week. It is speed candidating. We'd love to hear from all of you. And we've talked about doctors today and whether or not it's a specific Nashville phenomenon that people don't have an ability to get in to see a primary care physician within a month or 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5. I was told earlier in the week that it would take until January to schedule an appointment with a PCP. January? Are you kidding me? Don might have an idea about all of this. Hey, Don, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing yourself?
I'm well, thank you.
You know, I've lived in Tennessee now 18 years. I had a doctor in Murfreesboro. I bought a place out. They call it Bell Buckle, but it's really Fosterville, right past Christiana. But I went to that doctor for 10 years, and they went ahead and they started a liaison service, I believe they call it. They wanted me to pay them $2,000 a year just for him to be my doctor, which I don't understand that. I guess that's how you keep your practice small, by forcing people to pay more money. But these general practitioners, I find no use for them. I get blood work done 4 days before I see the doctor, and then I go in there and all my doctor does is read off a chart and then try to push medicine on me. And I'm not taking pills. I don't take pills. I don't see the point in it.
You don't. So you're just frustrated with the entire process, Don. It sounds like.
I'm done. I mean, you know what? I think Sunday I had a sandwich. I think I got some of that boar's head meat, and I think I got listeria. I only say that because I can't turn my head to the left or to the right. My neck is stiff. I am just in serious pain. But what am I going to do? Go to a walk-in clinic? Wait in line?
That's what you have to. I mean, that's the prime. And Don, I feel you, and I hear you, and I share some of the sentiments that you share. I mean, it's not Grandma and Grandpa's medical industry anymore. It's sad but true. Thank you, Don, for the call. It is sad but true that so many things have changed that you can't just go to your doctor if you feel sick. They can't get you in. I do find, well, part of me has a hard time believing that it takes 6 months, but so many people within the industry say, yeah, it's just that packed out. It's just that packed out. So I want to do this, Bell, real quick. I know you're on the phone right now. Can you jip some of this right now? Well, he's not listening. Okay, we'll get to him in a moment. He's on the phone. We'll get to Rick in Nashville. Hey, Rick, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for calling.
I had to wait 2 months to get to see my general practitioner.
Ridiculous.
I thought that was pretty quick, actually.
Wow.
But you were talking about hospital bills and stuff like that. The hospital has nothing to do with it. It's the insurance company that runs it. They set the bills. And if you go to see your doctor or have something done in a hospital, tell them I'm paying cash. It's cheaper than if you're going for insurance by hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I saw a guy do it one day. They asked the clerk, I'm paying cash. And he paid $1,000 less than he was going to do with insurance.
Well, I can't speak to the specifics of the story. I don't know. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Some people say, well, you pay cash, you pay less. Some people say you pay cash, you pay more.
Johnny did that exact same thing on a colonoscopy where they wanted to charge him $1,000. And he said, I can't afford that. I'm paying cash. And he asked the woman what it would be if he just, paid out of pocket. She went back, came back and goes, about $250.
There you go. Hey, while we're watching some of this happening, Donald Trump is sitting down at the National Convention of Black Journalists, and he was just asked a question about how horrible of a human being he was. I mean, they opened with going, you call people animals and you call people savage, and you said Barack Obama wasn't born here, and they're kind of hammering him down. And he's responding. He's sitting there responding to some of this. Let's listen in as Donald Trump speaks in Chicago, Illinois, to the Convention of Black Journalists.
DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really don't
have
know.
said.
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well,
interview.
You told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border.
All right, so Donald Trump speaking before the assembled black journalists there in Chicago, Illinois. We'll continue to monitor that. I got to take a quick time out. It's 1:23. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show. When it comes to protecting your family, your property, you need to have a safe from Nashville Safe House, because Nashville Safe House has safes that can protect those things that protect you and your family, specifically gun safes. Whether it's Browning or any of the great brands sold by Nashville Safe House, and they have all of the fabulous brands. They have great rebates for you during the summertime months, and gun safes are always, as always, sales tax free at Nashville Safe House. Mark and his team want to see you. If you're thinking about upgrading, never you fear, because you can upgrade. You can do the little, I call it a little switcheroo, right? You can, if you've got a safe and you want a bigger safe, Mark will talk to you about what that means for Nashville Safe House in terms of getting you into that larger safe that you've been wanting. And Mark recommends, if you're thinking about buying, buy a little bit bigger than you think you'll need, especially if it comes to a gun safe. But they also have jewelry safes, corporate safes. They have tornado shelters as well. It's what they do at Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com, NashvilleSafeHouse.com, or stop by 4th Avenue South in Nashville. Tell Mark and his team Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only, the best in the business, Nashville Safe House.
As you can well imagine, with what's been going on in the Middle East, tensions are indeed rising there. We will have the latest. And Boeing, with all of their issues, they've got a new CEO. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. 127, Super Talk 99.7 WT. And Donald Trump is taking questions at a convention for black journalists in Chicago, Illinois right now. Aggressive questions, to say the least, regarding what are black jobs, what are not black jobs. He made the comment right as we were going to break that there were illegal aliens coming across the southern border that were taking jobs away from black people, black jobs. And he was asked, what are black jobs? And he said, well, black jobs are jobs. To which he got some laughter out of the crowd, maybe derisive laughter, but laughter nonetheless. Anyway, he is willing, the bottom line is he is willing to go into those aggressive arenas where he knows that most of the people do not care for him, and they're asking him very aggressive questions. And he is saying, hey, these are horrible questions, but I'll answer them nonetheless. I'm here, and I'm here to answer these questions. So 128, we'll continue monitoring all of that on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
One thing he's doing that's extremely smart is he doesn't have to win the black vote. He just has to erode it for the Democrats.
Oh, sure.
And if he does that, it really improves his chances of winning.
If Donald Trump gets 18% of the black vote, he wins the election easily. That's the point. What he can't do is perform like he did in 2020 during that cycle where I forget what the ultimate total was then, but it was much less than 18. But if he gets 18% of the vote in the black community, he has won the election handily. So 8 out of 10 people in that room. And sadly, those journalists, it's probably more like 98% of the journalists, because by nature, the black population is going to be more against Republicans than they will be against Democrats. Secondarily, if you're a journalist, your nature is to be more liberal than it is conservative. I mean, journalists by and large are 90% left of center. So you add those two things together, and 98% of the people in that room are probably against Donald Trump. Most everyone except for Harris Faulkner, who is one of the moderators on the stage. 615-737-9986. Quickly, we'll get to Ken in Orlinda. Is that right, Ken? Are you in Orlinda?
Tim.
I'm sorry?
My name is Tim.
Well, I apologize. It said Ken on my screen. I'm sorry for that, Tim.
Oh, no problem, but it's going to break my heart. But other than that, I just wanted to say, when I first started working, the official work thing where you're hired and everything, I was 16 years old, didn't pay for health care. That was like a perk. Every business was giving it to all their employees to get help. That's all I wanted to say.
Did I miss that? He said when he started working at the age of 16, and then I missed the last portion of it because he was kind of moving his phone.
Sounded like he dropped the phone.
And he said, no, at the end he said, that's all I wanted to say, and then he hung up. Tim, I apologize. I might have missed a portion of that last bit of your call, but if that's the case, then I'm sorry. Thank you for calling in. Many of you calling in, like Tim, like Gary, like Christy, like Elaine and Tom, all on the way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Plus, we're monitoring Donald Trump taking questions from the Convention of Black Journalists, sitting on stage there with Harris Faulkner and others. We'll be back in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 1:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It is mostly sunny and quite warm. We are looking for a heat index today over 100 degrees with a chance of those afternoon showers once again. We'll get your full forecast here in just a bit. Currently, it's 92 degrees on Music Row. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. was not aware of any plans to assassinate Hamas's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, in Iran's capital. That was Tehran yesterday. Israel has not taken direct responsibility for the killing, but it comes a day after the death of Hezbollah's military commander in Lebanon. ABC's analyst Mick Mulroy, he looks at how tensions are rising in the region.
Feel like they have to respond to the killing of their senior leader. And now Iran will, because essentially Ismail Haniyeh was their guest to visit on the inauguration day of their new president. So something that almost looks like it was made to embarrass them from the Iranian perspective.
Back here in the States on the business front, Boeing, they've got a new CEO amid its ongoing quality control issues and a big quarterly loss. Alex Stone has more.
After reporting a $1.4 billion loss, Boeing naming Kelly Ortberg as its next CEO. Ortberg is an aviation industry veteran with a degree in mechanical engineering. He's a former CEO of a major avionics supplier, and surprisingly, even though Boeing is now headquartered in Virginia, Ortberg says he will be based in Seattle. A nod that he wants to get closer to the embattled 737 factories. He now has a task of turning around the company.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you all about the Glock Store and everything I know about this wonderful, fabulous business and this location, which is on Airlane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike, near Briley Parkway, near the airport, they're within the sound of my voice. Obviously, I encourage you to go and visit the folks at the Glock Store and see what they have to offer you. I mean, it's an incredible location. They have a great retail side of things. I mean, they have like different aspects to their business, which are all equally fabulous. One, the manufacturing side, which you don't really see because that's kind of behind the scenes, but they're manufacturing their own product that they sell on their showroom floor, and then they're mailing it out. They're shipping it out all across the United States of America, whether it be to other businesses or on the retail side of things. Then they have the Shoot 270 rooms, Never Lanes rooms. This is a better training experience that gives you more opportunity to train in a realistic fashion. And they have great trainers in these Shoot 270 rooms. And then, of course, when you call yourself Glock Store, you best have more Glocks than anyone else in the business, and they do at the Glock Store. So I want you to go and see the accessories, the clothing, the apparel, the rooms that you can train in, and everything else involving in the Glock Store, and meet some of the wonderful people over there. It's the Glock Store. Go to glockstore.com or shoot270.com and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Glock Store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy. And you. I have a question. So while the coronation continues, by now you probably know it's official. Vice President Kamala Harris will be the only candidate on the Democrat National Committee virtual roll call ballot for President of the United States. She has had an effortless rise to become the standard bearer of the Democrat Party. I have a very serious question. What has Kamala Harris accomplished? Either as vice president or senator or even a prosecutor. Now, I think the answers on the prosecutorial front are a little more clear and maybe a little more valid. I'm trying to figure out what Kamala Harris has actually accomplished. Typically, when you are a United States senator for 4 years, I could point to something. What about this person? I mean, even when Donald Trump ran in 2015, you could say, well, Donald Trump was a successful businessman, and people would argue, he's not successful. He declared, well, whatever. He ran businesses. He employed people. He made payrolls. What are the accomplishments? What are the top accomplishments of Kamala Harris? Sincerely. Honest question. 615-737-9986. Tim is in the borough. Hello, Tim.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, Tim. Hope you are.
I want to tell you something that's really bothering me as a former military marksman. I shot many shots at 400, 500 yards. What I'm not hearing is what is really bothering me about this assassination attempt. The young man that was on that building was 150 yards away.
Yeah, a little less, but yes. Mm-hmm.
He got off six quick rounds, just basically bing, 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 bing. But then instantly, a Secret Service sharpshooter shot this gentleman from 400 yards away with one shot instantly. Now, if I have my 308 or my 50 cal and I'm 400 yards away, unless I'm staring directly at my target, there is absolutely no way I could get that shot off that accurately, that quickly. And in none of the graphs and the charts they have shown are they showing where that 400-yard shot came from. They're showing the police officers on the roof, and the other side were the other two Secret Service officers, but none of those distances were 400 yards. So something's up. It would take to turn that rifle, to zero in on that target, to check your windage, and fire that shot that accurately to hit that boy in the head at 400 yards away. Easy 3 seconds. But the shot came instantly, which tells me that boy was already in their sights.
Well, the suggestion has been made, and I don't know the answer to this, obviously, Tim, but the suggestion has been made that they had eyeballed him before he started getting off the rounds. And so they were, I mean, if you believe the official narration, and I'm not saying I do, the narration was that the counter snipers had identified him in the moments before he got off rounds. Now, we know that there are two officers, and we've seen body cam video of some of this. The two officers that were trying to identify whether or not there was somebody on the roof, they thought they knew that there was somebody on the roof. These were local police, and they got a ladder, and they hoisted themselves up on the roof, and then the guy pointed the gun at one of them, which he knew then that he had to get off the rounds as quickly as possible, and he ran to another position and did that. But what the official narrative has been that the counter sniper identified the subject prior to him getting off the rounds and was not able to zero in until such time as he had gotten off. I think it was 8 rounds from the rooftop, and then it was 3 and then 5. And then at that point, in the midst of that second volley was when the counter sniper neutralized him by shooting him in the head. But, I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying, that if you don't know where the target is, if you've not already identified the target, that's an incredible small amount of time to identify, zero in. I mean, and I know that, and I'm just an amateur. I mean, I'm just a deer hunter, right? I don't know nearly what you do about what it takes to get that done.
Well, the biggest thing there was the distance. At 400 yards,
that's a long shot.
That put that guy, that shooter, outside of the perimeter of the entire event, which to me is very strange.
No, it's the 400-yard figure. I mean, obviously, I think the longest. I go back to my days hunting deer with my grandpa, and he made a shot from about 350 yards, and even with his 30-06, he had to adjust, for drop and wind, and it was a big old buck on the other side of a big old field, and he made it happen. But I mean, it's a good shot, right? I mean, I don't know how that happens that quickly. What we are told, and it's a great question, and I don't think we're going to get an answer today. But thank you for the call, Tim. Why they did not neutralize a threat if they had identified the threat before shots were fired, or did it happen overlapping on one another? Which, because we're not getting adequate information from Secret Service, we're not getting adequate information from the FBI, it leads to this. It leads to Tim and I speculating as to how in the hell this would happen. An absence of information leads to speculation. Explain to us when the counter snipers actually saw the identified subject on the roof. Was there communication going up the food chain? We were told no. However, the counter sniper obviously saw something. Otherwise, I'm like Tim. I don't think you can possibly get that shot off that quickly if you did not. Let's see who's been holding the line. I think it's Derek in Perry County. Hey, Derek, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
So I'm curious as to how we can do better as far as not allowing a man to be picked apart by what's considered, media saying, "Oh, black jobs." He said that illegals are taking black jobs and just keeping it that. But yet, you see across social medias the phrase black money or black neighborhoods. And then it's race baiting, in my opinion.
It's race baiting to ask the question or race baiting to give the answer?
It's race baiting to ask the question because the question started with one of media personnel referring to it as black jobs. And when Donald Trump just repeated the phrase black jobs, oh, he's automatic racist. That's a bad mark on him. So how can we avoid that or clean that up?
Well, here's the way that, and Derek, all I can say is the way that I would handle it. Now, what they're trying to accomplish, and thank you for your call. Keep listening on the radio. The suggestion is that it's hurting all of us in the United States of America collectively to see an influx of illegal alien labor, and that influx of illegal alien activity is taken away from jobs for all Americans, white and black. To subdivide it into white and or black, I agree with you. It gives ample opportunity for the political left to suggest, well, what do you mean black jobs? What are you talking about, black jobs? Well, I'm not the one that insists on resegregating society. That's the Democrats that are doing that. What we are attempting to present to you is that the Democrats do not support you and your community. If we are here to talk about this is the way I would answer the question. We're here to talk about the African American community. We're here to talk about the black community. We're here to talk about black jobs. I mean, this is the convention for black journalists. What do you mean when you say black? What are black journalists? Well, you're journalists who are black. What are black jobs? The people that are employed that are black. People that are employed that are black are getting hurt by the illegal alien labor that's coming across the southern border. And typically, we see that black voters have been conned and convinced by Democrats to vote for them over the years, over the last 40 or 50 years, in numbers that reach 90 and sometimes 95%. So whether you're a black journalist or a black lawyer or a black accountant or someone in manual labor working a job at a construction site, this is impacting you. And we're speaking directly to the black community because, sadly, the black community has been convinced by so many within the Democrat circles that the only answer to any issue that they might have in their individual lives comes with a vote for a Democrat. The Democrats do not represent you anymore. That would be my answer. It is not I that choose to subdivide on the basis of race. As a matter of fact, have you noticed how Kamala Harris and her campaign, they are resegregating society? And no one seems to care? We're going to have a white dudes for Harris Zoom call. We're going to have a white chicks for Harris Zoom call. We're going to have a black guy for Harris Zoom call. We're going to have a Latinos for Harris. Why is she? Can someone tell me why they're subdividing these things into races and gender and sex? I guess I should say gender. Why is that important? Oh, by the way, Belle, the white dudes for Harris, did you see who made it? One, the entire meeting was started by a black guy, which I think is funny.
Of course.
But then another guy showed up who, you know the name Sean King?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Sean King, who has for the last 10 years been trying to convince everybody who will listen that he's black.
BLM grifter.
Showed up at the White Dudes for Harris event. What the hell are you doing here? You're black. You've been telling us for the last 10 years you're black.
Now,
Why
you
are
don't
you
belong
here?
on this call.
You don't belong on the White Dude. Get it out of here. Black guy here. Get the black guy out.
This is for white guilt.
White guys only. I mean, my goodness. And somebody sadly told Jeff Bridges it was a dude's event. Oh, the dude. And he shows up.
It's just embarrassing. You feel.
When did it become okay to do this? I thought we were trying to strive for a society that would not look at the color of one's skin, but the content of one's character. And now Kamala Harris has launched her political campaign by subdividing people based on gender and race and saying, you're not allowed here, you're not allowed there. We're going to create safe spaces for these people. And no one seems to question why. Genuine question. Why is she doing this way? Why are they doing this way?
It's pandering.
It has to be.
It's just pandering. It's the same reason that you would go and you would have a black-only prom in a school, because you're trying to pander to that specific demographic, when the truth of the matter is they should be allowed in any event they want to at their school, regardless of their color or their ethnicity.
It is a sickness, in my opinion. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you heard this. Kamala Harris unveiled a new accent in Atlanta last night.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
We're going to do it again in 2024.
Moving on up
to the east side. We finally got a piece of the pie.
Can you imagine all the people that, especially in the South, that went through what they had to implement desegregation, and what, like those, you know, the old photos of the girls being walked into school with the National Guard, the
fire
fear,
hoses or whatever,
the fear that those girls went through to make that happen. And now it's like, well, just go back to some of the old ways.
Well, and the the white chicks for Harris one was just an abomination, with this woman saying, God forbid you correct a person of color. God forbid.
Wait a minute, like you're not supposed to do that? Or
no, you're not supposed to do that.
Oh, so if somebody's wrong, we have to take their color into account before we...
If they're wrong, you don't get to correct them if they're wrong, if they're a person of color. You just sit there and let them be wrong. Apparently, according to this white woman. 53 after the hour. I'm not wrong when I say we have to take a time out. We get Cameron Smith coming up, plus your calls. It's also speed candidating on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Cameron Smith just said, you're singing. It must be a slow news day. It's not a slow news day. I sing every day, buddy. There's a lot to sing about, including Savory Spice. I'm going to sing their praises. Savory Spice is so good at what they do. You know, I've seen Cameron Smith in Savory Spice, buying spices from Holly David and the rest of the gang down there in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. And we'd like to see you. You know, you walk in and you smell it. I mean, there's so many just the blends of spices, the deliciousness. And if you want to test some, they've got the samplers. You just pour it out in your hand, and you can test it if you want. You can give it a little taste if you want off your finger, or if you just want to sniff it, and when you're done, you just down on the floor. They'll clean it up. Don't you worry about it. Savory Spice, that's just the way they do. And when it comes time to actually buy, they'll make you a fresh batch of your own at Savory Spice. They have the delicious flavors that you want. They have the Spice and Easy products that make it so easy to cook a meal tonight. They have something for the grill for the late summer season, and they've got it for you. And it's never too early to talk about pumpkin spice. It's never too early to talk about pumpkin. Well, maybe, okay, it might be a little too early because it's not August yet, but come tomorrow, I'll be talking pumpkin spice with you and Savory Spice. 2 locations, L&L Market in Nashville or off the square in Franklin. Go see the gang, the best of the best. Savory Spice. Up your food game by upping your spice game. Up your spice game at Savory Spice.
Good afternoon. We are coming up on 2 p.m. And I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We're looking at a mostly sunny sky, 91 degrees, a full forecast coming up. While GOP vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance was campaigning in Nevada, Vice President Kamala Harris, she was at a rally in Georgia last night.
Harris going head on after the issue Republicans have been hammering her on, immigration. Trying to flip the script, Harris blaming Trump for convincing Republicans to tank the bipartisan border deal earlier this year.
That was Mary Bruce reporting. Now in South America, at least 11 people thus far are dead and hundreds have been arrested in protest over Venezuela's contested presidential election. Protesters have clashed with security forces as foreign governments are urging President Nicolas Maduro to release evidence supporting his claim of victory. We hear now from ABC's contributor, Maria Elena Salinas.
The government of Colombia, through its foreign minister, is asking the Venezuelan government for an audit of the election tallies and allow them to be reviewed by the international community. In other words, it's not just enough to release them. They want them to be audited. And this is significant because Colombia is a leftist government. They share a border with Venezuela, and that is where the majority of Venezuelans have fled to after this crisis.
Well, another popular vehicle recall. This time it's an SUV.
Hyundai is recalling just under 50,000 Santa Fe's from the 2024 model year. The issue has to do with the SUV's floor wire harness, which the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says could be damaged by folding down the second row seats. That could result in problems with the airbag, either not going off in a crash or going off inadvertently. The recall impacts both the Santa Fe and the Santa Fe Hybrid. Drivers will be notified in September if their vehicle is affected.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, getting right back into hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So can everybody hear that? I got folks on YouTube complaining they can't hear her laughing. You got that for everybody now? Good for you. Good for you. For those of you, and it's one in particular, suggesting that you cannot hear Kamala's cackle on Facebook or YouTube, I gave Belkay the business. And so he is now presenting for all of you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Kamala's cackle. You want to go? You want to go again?
No, I already took it back out of the pot.
Bell was telling me that it makes his job harder.
No,
which sounded like a him problem.
No, I was telling you it makes my job riskier.
True that. They are. It's true. So we'll get back to your telephone calls momentarily. It's a midweek edition of the Matt Murphy Show. That means an appearance from Cameron Smith of the Tennessean. He writes over there. He lives in conservative closet at the Tennessean. He also writes for a variety of other publications. And on occasion, he subs in for me and others on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, to include this coming Friday. He's going to be in for yours truly.
We're going to talk about the memory hole.
You know, we've been doing it, and I call it the reclamation of Candidate Zero. Thank you. I call her Candidate Zero because that represents the number of votes she's ever received for president of the United States so far.
That's fair. I like that.
Mm-hmm. And also it.
I can chew gum and walk at the same time. Very similar.
At the same time, I just want to further, and for those of you holding, I hear you. I see you out there, Christy, with healthcare. I see you, Mike, on the labor force, and I see you, Tom Davis, who wants to speed candidate. You know, we're speed candidating this week. That means no scheduled politicians all week long through Election Day. But if you want to call in as a politician, just call in on the regular line. We'll give you a couple of minutes. Just don't bore me. We call it speed candidating.
I love that.
Yeah. And Tom has done so. But I want to address something that you and I were discussing. As bad of a political candidate as Kamala Harris is, she's not Joe Biden.
Correct.
And we seem to be dealing with, in the mainstream media and amongst Democrats, starving people who have desperately needed something to get behind for some time now.
That's true.
And they have been thrown a cracker. And they have decided it is the most delicious cracker on the face of the earth.
I thought they got rid of the cracker. Home run.
Yeah. Now, I'm reminded, there's an old Eddie Murphy bit, and I can't get into all of it. But he talks about a starving guy. Well, he's talking about women holding out on men. And that's...
Yeah, got it.
And he's like, and by the time you finally get there, it's like, oh my Lord, this is love. This is the best thing I've ever had. He goes, well, if you're starving and I throw you a cracker, you'd be like, oh my Lord, this is the best cracker. Is this a Ritz? This has got to be a Ritz. This is a good cracker. You're going to have more.
Right.
Eat those same crackers for the next 6 months and see how you like them. Point being is that these are starving people that were looking for something to be motivated behind, and they have decided that they're going to make up a candidate and call her Kamala Harris.
So I have 2 words for you: hope and change. Remember those 2 words?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was a candidate who was extremely successful with nothing. It was just project whatever you want to onto Barack Obama, and he's your guy.
Yep.
And that was extremely powerful. And I looked at the numbers. Democrat enthusiasm has basically doubled. 4 out of 10 voters were excited about Joe Biden being the nominee. 8 out of 10 Democratic voters with Harris. So, I mean, those enthusiasm numbers matter big time, because Trump could have coasted with Democrats being demoralized. That didn't happen anymore.
Why do I have a bad feeling that she has a shot at this?
She does.
She picks Josh Shapiro and somehow works out Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Then you have to put Arizona and like a Michigan together, or Arizona and Wisconsin together in order to combat. I mean, the road is a hell of a lot harder if you can't win Pennsylvania if you're a Republican.
The anti-Trump vote has been there. We know that. It exists.
41%.
But it was demoralized, right? So we knew Trump was probably going to eat into that a little bit because they just weren't going to show up. Now,
they have something to anchor to that's not Joe Biden. And I think that's powerful. And independence, the whole campaign right here is Kamala Harris isn't Gavin Newsom. That's what she's trying to convey right now. And don't worry, she's got plenty of help in the media that's saying she never was responsible for any Democratic policies. She never actually did anything. I heard you on the air ask, well, what's her track record?
What has she accomplished?
Hope and change, man.
Right? I mean, outside of her role as a prosecutor, which by some accounts that I've read, she did an okay job.
And Democrats don't like her on that front.
Right. And they don't bring that up.
Right.
So when you ask a Democrat, well, what has she accomplished? They're not talking about, they're never going to bring up her prosecutorial history, but they can't bring up anything else.
Correct. I'm telling you, this is Barack Obama all over again.
I mean, if you ask me what Marsha Blackburn has accomplished, I can point to something this week.
Sure.
Right. She and Blumenthal got the online thing passed through the Senate. It goes to the House. Now, it's not gotten through the House yet, but Mike Johnson says he'll consider it. That's a bipartisan piece of legislation.
Moving legislation.
That's moving legislation. That's an accomplishment. Outside of being somewhere and getting elected, what have you accomplished? And I can't find anybody to tell me what it is, but you're right. Nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to, and the media is all in on this. For example, Donald Trump just today at the National Association of Black Journalists said rightly that Kamala Harris is the ethnicity that she needs to be in the room that she happens to be in. And I'm saying it much better than Trump said it, but if she needs to be Jamaican, she's Jamaican. If she needs to be Indian, she's Indian. If she needs to be black, she's black. And so Trump said, well, you know, she was Indian for a while and then she wasn't. Now, because she's on the national stage, she's turned black. That's the way that he put it. And CNN says that Trump falsely claimed that Kamala turned black when convenient. It's not a false claim. You can call it a claim, but to unilaterally declare it false is to ignore history.
But this is a loser issue for Republicans.
Oh, I agree.
Anything that's gender, anything that's race, you bring it up, you just point out headlines and say these headlines reported all kinds of different stuff back when, and now they're reporting different stuff. I did that in my latest piece, and it's almost as if they just ignore it. Like it doesn't matter what has been. We're unburdened by that.
Are we now?
What? We're in the can be land. Well, that's where we are. And it's going to be a very different campaign for Donald Trump right now.
Well, and who falls for this kind of garbage?
On the border, the choice is simple. Kamala Harris supports increasing the number of Border Patrol agents. Donald Trump blocked a bill to increase the number of Border Patrol agents. Kamala Harris supports investing in new technology to block fentanyl from entering the country. Donald Trump blocked funding for technology to block fentanyl from entering the country. Kamala Harris supports spending more money to stop human traffickers. Donald Trump blocked money to stop human traffickers. Kamala Harris prosecuted transnational gang members and got them sentenced to prison. Trump is trying to avoid being sentenced to prison. There's two choices in this election: the one who will fix our broken immigration system and the one who's trying to stop her.
Yeah.
They're running on her being the strong border candidate.
Yeah.
Say what you will about Donald Trump, it is his signature political issue.
You know who that ad's designed for?
Stupid people.
It's designed for folks that want to say Harris is a reasonable candidate. They're not looking at the Trump stuff. They're looking at, hey, she did reasonable things. That's what they're having to recast her and say she's not the most liberal. She's very much pragmatic. Because she doesn't have a track record. Where are you going to attack her down? She hasn't done much.
It's a fascinating turn of events that Democrats are now campaigning on strong border security.
Why not?
It's a fascinating turn of events.
Throw Joe under the bus, man. It works. It's a good tactical approach, even if you don't like it.
Is that where he's hiding? Is under the bus?
Maybe.
Probably.
Who knows where he is? And while Joe hides, the Middle East, man.
Does anybody notice World War III is getting started?
World War III is starting. I mean, all it's going to take. Tell me where I'm wrong here.
Okay.
So you have Hamas starts a hot war with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Israel responds. They try to be as measured as they can. The international media immediately does what they do, and they turn against the Jewish community, and they turn against the nation of Israel, because the nation of Israel
It's
has
probably going to be Hezbollah and Iran.
Well, no, what I'm saying, now I'm getting there.
Okay.
So it's Hamas and Israel, and then Hezbollah starts getting involved, and Hamas and Hezbollah are both funded by Iran. Now you have the Hamas party leader killed in Beirut, Lebanon, and so you get a little bit of Lebanon involved. So all it takes, if Iran gets directly involved in this hot war, what happens if Russia backs Iran?
You kind of see the battle lines being drawn.
You see that? And then where does China go? China doesn't want to get involved, so China just sits back, but China can fund it.
China's very smart. China will do cyber stuff. They're called malign activities.
And they'll keep doing business with these with these countries so that they can keep getting them money so they can keep funding their military operations.
China wants to weaken us. They do not want to fight us right now. And so being able to say, hey, we're just doing business with these guys. We're not fighting America. And then
So the only way, and my argument all along has been, we have to be, from a negotiation standpoint, involved in as much as we don't want to get involved with boots on the ground. But if we don't show that we've got Israel's back, if we don't demonstrate that we're willing to go there, at least as much as they will believe us, then there might be a country like Iran willing to do the deed and go to war with Israel. What do we do at that point?
Don't worry. Joe Biden's he's in good shape. Everything's fine, Matt. Everything's fine.
I said this the other day. We're all the little dogs in that meme with the coffee mug and everything's burning, and it's fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Don't worry
Joe
about it.
He's on the job.
And I've seen mention on #NeverCNN of the Hamas leader being, quote, assassinated. I've not seen any mention of the possibilities of the escalation of this conflict and what America is doing about it. Where is Anthony Blinken right now?
He was talking to Jordan and saying, hey, Jordan, let's figure out how to turn the volume down here and turn the temperature down. I just don't think...
What?
I don't think anybody in the region is... Israel's certainly not. Israel's saying, hey, look, you still have our hostages. We're going to eradicate Hamas. And Iran is basically saying, we have to eradicate Israel. Those are not moderated positions. They're not going to tone that down.
My central focus is to support our allies and to keep us out of war. Those two things simultaneously. And if we don't support our allies, I fear we're going to fail on the second point.
Right.
Because we're going to be forced to come to the table militarily to try to help Israel out if these nations attack Israel.
Well, that Hezbollah commander that Israel killed, we had a $5 million bounty on his head.
Right.
So I don't see how we can just sort of say, actually, we were just kidding. We were we had a bounty on his head.
But where is, the Democrat nominee for president of the United States of America, what has she said about this? The president of the United States, what has he said about the assassination of the Hamas leader?
We don't talk about Joe anymore.
Oh, that's right. We don't care about Joe. Nobody cares where Joe Biden is. It's 2:19. Let's get to Christy in Ashland City. I was talking healthcare earlier. I named no names, but I did say that it would take me 6 months to get in to see a doctor, and that was frustrating. And maybe Christy has some ideas. Thank you for your patience, Christy. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing well.
Okay. I'm at work right now, so I have to be real quick because I held on a long time, which is fine. We have a lot of topics going on. But I want to say something to the politicians in Tennessee. I work in healthcare. I take care of seniors every day. I work with nurses. I'm a tech, and we're all fed up with it. And politicians in Tennessee, I'm not talking about Washington, D.C., Tennessee, need to wake up because these seniors are suffering. And guess what? We're all going to get old. We're going to get there. So, and people are getting a lot of diseases and disorders right now, and they can't afford insurance. I can't afford insurance, and I work. So I just want to say, Cameron Sexton you just had on, didn't you? Hello?
Yeah, I'm
Cameron
here.
Smith.
I'm here. This is Cameron Smith. This is not Cameron Sexton.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I want to send a call out to him because I sent an email to his office to explain some things. He hasn't gotten back to me. But, I work in the workforce. I pay my taxes. We're just sick and tired of it. And politicians in Tennessee need to wake up because Tennessee healthcare is broken. And I see seniors struggling every day and the ones I take care of every day to figure out how they're going to pay for things. And I really wish that someone would just wake up. I don't know what the solution is, but, we're all here. So I hope somebody hears. Instead of worrying about Democrat, Republican, they need to wake up because Tennesseans are suffering, and they always forget about the seniors. And, honey, you're all going to get old. You're going to be there eventually. And I watch these seniors just cry because they don't have the money and their insurance sucks. Plain and simple. That's all I have to say.
Well, the medical industry and the insurance industry working hand in hand, it does kind of suck. And Christy, thank you for the call, and thank you for holding as long as you did. This might not go directly to the nature of Christy's call, but I want to say this too, that when it comes to our elderly and our seniors, I'm not casting aspersions at anybody when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We need to look in the mirror. We do way too much. I wish, as a society, that we did more for our elderly people within our family units.
Sure.
That we did more for our moms and dads. The proliferation of assisted living facilities, and I'm not knocking any of those. Yeah. Culturally, I wish we were more like the Japanese. You know what the Japanese do?
In terms of care of the elderly.
They take care of their families.
They do.
They take care of their people. They take them in. Even if that means they don't get to go on vacations, even if that means that they have to pinch and save a little more than they otherwise would have to do. I wish we did more of that. And I know that isn't reflective directly of what Christy was trying to say. It inspired me to say that.
But she's right. I mean, let's be honest. The bureaucracy is awful. And, I'll use a specific example. My wife had a scan that they wanted to follow up on. And it's, a mammogram. Typically when they want to follow up on those, your heart drops a little bit. You're like, is something wrong? It's an anxiety-inducing thing. It was Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is known for its bureaucracy. I don't mind calling them out. And they said, we need to see you. She called back in and, routed through all the call centers, and they're like, no, we can't do that yet. And they said, and she's like holding the notice. It says, it's actually really, they want to see me back in. And, thankfully everything. Right. But she's nervous, right? And they're sitting there saying, oh, no, we can't do this yet. And it's that kind of stuff that people hate. And politicians that respond to that are going to do really well.
Tom, we'll get to you in a moment. Tom is speed candidating from the 4th Congressional District today. Gary, Pat, and Mike coming up. Cameron's with us as well. That's Cameron Smith of the Tennessean. He lives in Conservative Closet over there. It's 224 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, U.S. Pest is on my mind. Do you have bugs bugging you? That's what they do. It's why they're called bugs, because they bug you. You know what I'm saying? And if you have termites, they're not going to go away on their own, and they're going to destroy your house if you let them. If you have roaches or ticks or fleas or whatever else might be coming into your home, do you have a pest control service that protects you. Well, protection begins with U.S. Pest. The purpose of pest control's very existence is found in the value of its key role, preventing insect and rodent-borne diseases and preventing these nasties from getting in your house. So they offer full-service pest control from spiders and stink bugs and ants and roaches and silverfish and termites and brown recluse spiders and ticks and fire ants, etc. Common Tennessee pests. Now, speaking of termite protection, they have preventative and corrective measures that can save your home. Every home in Tennessee is threatened by termites, and they have a 100% money-back guarantee there. Plus, they offer crawl space service as well. Find more about Tennessee's U.S. Pest by going to uspest.com. That's uspest.com, or call them throughout the state. They're here to serve. 590-1260. 615-590-1260. It's U.S. Pest.
The wait continues for lower interest rates. We'll have a report. And the former President Trump speaking before black journalists today. How did it go? Well, it depends on who you ask. We'll have those stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mere moments away from Jay Harper and his newscast at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I call it the dentist newscast on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. You know why I call it that, Cameron?
I do not.
Because it happens at 2:30.
2:30?
Yeah, like 2:30. What time's your appointment at the dentist?
You are amazing.
Thank you.
Just really like that.
Thank you. See, Kamala gets me.
Time.
What? Hey, give him the coconut tree. You're going to get the coconut tree treatment. Yeah? You think that? We can keep going.
Imagine that. Imagine.
But you know what? You just said something off air that you're right. That you get the best political consultants in America as long as she's willing to do what they tell her to do. She's not an alpha personality.
Right.
She's a beta. As long as she's willing, you sit her in a room and you say, you're going to do everything that we tell you to do the way that we tell you to do it. Do you want to win or not?
Yep.
And she'll do that.
She's a politician in that
Trump
sense.
would never do that. And that's, that's to his credit and to his detriment at the same time.
It is.
But she's doing that. The cackling's over. I promise you, you will never hear that stupid, unburdened comment again.
Yeah. I've done...
Never again. Well, I mean, you'll hear it here.
I've done this with candidates. You sit them in a room and you just basically beat them to death. And you just say, you do this. This is one of your ticks. If you ever do this again, I'm going to punch you in the throat. You just let them know. And the good ones do what it takes because they want to win.
Right. And when you repair all of that, the memory of the American people, especially the American people that haven't been paying that much attention. I mean, they pay attention enough to pop their head out and go, don't like Joe. Bye. And then go back into their hole.
She's evolving.
Before their very eyes. We're evolving on to the newscast before your very eyes. Tom, I promise, Tom Davis has held for an hour and 20 minutes. God bless. You know what he's doing? He's walking through neighborhoods, pounding on doors, candidating. We'll speed candidate with him and others coming up in a moment on 231 on Super Talk.
Yes, it is 2:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It is sunny, 93 degrees on Music Row. We'll get you a weather forecast here in just a bit. Well, the wait continuing for lower interest rates, but ABC's Brian Clark says there are some positive signs ahead.
At its meeting, the Federal Reserve is expected to keep borrowing costs on hold at a 23-year high, but with inflation improving and the jobs market cooling, Fed Chair Jerome Powell could signal that long-awaited interest rate cut is on the horizon, possibly as soon as September.
Former President Trump speaking at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago today. A question and answer session was moderated by ABC's Rachel Scott. There, Trump explained why he chose Ohio Senator J.D. Vance to be his running mate, citing how he came up from a childhood in poverty to attend Yale Law School.
I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Paul Winkler. Most of the information that you get about investment comes from people trying to sell you investment product. So what do you think you're going to get in terms of advice? Obviously, they're going to advise you to buy the investment product that they're selling. Paul Winkler does none of this. Paul Winkler educates you on investments. He educates you on different types of investing, and he does what's right by you. And through that education process, he is a fiduciary, meaning that he is beholden to do the right thing for you. Now, only a small fraction of the people in the financial industry are degreed planners. At Paul Winkler, in his offices, he has a chartered financial consultant or a certified financial planner in every single one, and 10 separate offices to serve you and your community. Now, I am paid to speak well of Paul Winkler. I am required to tell you that through the various, agencies that oversee the financial industry. But I don't mind doing that, and I'm not required to be a client, and I'm a client too because Paul Winkler is the best at what he does. Give him a call today at 615-851-1950, 615-851-1950, or go to paulwinkler.com and tell him Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Paul Winkler. He strategizes, he educates, and he's the best. It's Paul Winkler. Super Talk 99.7 WT and Matt Murphy, Cameron Smith, and you. Well, Bell K's behind the glass. Jay Harper in the newsroom. Brian Wilson coming up in about 22 or so minutes. And you on the phone, 615-737-9986. Tom Davis has held for an inordinate amount of time. Tom, I owe you a bottle of water and an ink pen used by me or something like that. I don't know. I owe you something. Thank you for calling in.
Oh, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. No problem. I appreciate you doing the speed candidating. Did I get that right? Thing. So that being said, as I do this, that part about where I can't bore you or you got to be entertained. And so that scene from Gladiator comes to mind when I think about it, when he comes through and he just smokes all those dudes and he's like, "Are you not entertained?" So that comes to mind as I do it.
That's a good scene.
One of my all-time top 10 favorite scenes in any film. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Is this not why you are here? That's what the last line is this not why you are here? Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good one. So how are you going to win?
So we talked about, yesterday we talked about the National Defense Authorization Act, how I would have been a no because of the DEI, transgender affirming care in it. Today, district availability, this is a theme I've heard as I've talked to people, is we don't see our candidate. For me, quarterly face-to-face town halls somewhere in the district, published and put out there so anyone who wants to attend can attend. In addition to that, at least monthly videos, me doing monthly videos, my face in front of the camera, published on YouTube or Rumble where they're seeing me so I can tell them what I've done and where we're going and what's coming up. So that's today. And then also I want to mention that Chris Hand is on record as saying he is going to vote for me. So that's a couple differences. And I've got another one. We'll save that for tomorrow. And I kind of want to, as I head out, I agree with your plan to deal with Bell K and his transgressions, known and unknown. I think that's solid.
Man, oh man. Man, Tom Davis he is speaking truth. He's bringing some fire. He's bringing heat, Bell. You can't handle it. Thank you, Tom, for the call. Mike is next in South Pittsburgh. Hello, Mike.
What's going on, buddy?
Thank you for holding, Mike. I appreciate your patience, man. We're getting to you as quickly as we can.
Hey, if my first name was Cecil, my last name
you would have been a lot sooner.
No, my name would be Cecil.
Oh, your last name's Cecil. Oh, okay. Well, I like that, Mike. Hey, you heard me yesterday talking about Cecil's, my love of Cecil's.
Yep, yesterday I did. Yep, I couldn't get through to tell you then, but I'm telling you now. So anyway, I appreciate your show. But, before I retired in 2019, from 1995 to 2019, I traveled worldwide installing machinery that made a cardboard box. And when I was in third world countries, I had 20 people at my beck and call, and a lot of them were mechanical and electrical engineers. They just didn't have anywhere to go. And when I'm in the United States working with the unions, it's like, hey, where's your help? So, honestly, there's not a person that's having a house built in Tennessee where there's not Mexicans framing it. These people can build a house in a month, and I'm currently having one built. So,
well, for the immigration issue and the southern border issue is not a matter of besmirching groups of people for their labor, and I'm not one to suggest that we don't at some point need to talk about immigration policy that includes visas that allow unskilled labor to come into the country to fill a void that sadly needs to be filled. But exactly. My premise has been from the beginning, we've got to deal with the first part before we can deal with the second part. The first part's the southern border. The second part is, do we have that void? Do companies legitimately need this labor pool? And if they do, then let's have a conversation about how to make that above board as opposed to under the table the way it is now.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, we have great legal processes for that already, and we just don't follow them.
We just don't. Pat is next in Shelbyville. Hello, Pat.
Hi there. This is not a big solution to what that woman was talking about for elderly, but there are community clinics, and I was a recipient of help from a community clinic when I didn't have insurance, and a lot of elderly used that service. And it may sound like something you don't want to do. That's subpar help, but I'm telling you, I got the best care that I had ever gotten through community clinics. And if they are Medicare, they may not be able to use it, but if there's somebody or Medicaid, but there's a lot of elderly that don't have insurance that can benefit from this. And I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people don't even think about it because they think they might have preconceptions of it being bad care. But my personal experience, it was really top notch. These people wanted to help.
And this was this in Shelbyville?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, good for you. I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad that there's a thumbs up for some community care centers. I mean, I think it probably depends on the community that you live in and the efficacy of the care that you get. For a second there, I felt like I was ordering a sandwich at a drive-thru, but we made it.
Yeah.
We made it.
Well, the good point, I mean, so there are some community healthcare clinics for sort of run-of-the-mill stuff. It's fine. For specialized care, it's just a lot tougher.
My confusion, and you may have heard me talking about this earlier, I named no names except for yours. I did name yours. But I said, you ask around, and I asked Cameron, hey, what about your doc? Is he accepting? Yeah, I think he is. And I'm like, okay, great. And I call him up, and I'm not faulting any doctor. I'm not saying that there's anyone's fault, but it is what it is. In the primary care physician field, I get told, yes, the doctor is taking new patients. We're currently scheduling for January.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's just that. Then my reaction to that is, well, then you're not really scheduling new patients.
Not anytime soon.
I mean, maybe if I want to move from a doctor that I particularly don't care for to you, maybe that's an acceptable thing.
It's a pain in the tail. I mean, I had a doctor that I loved who decided to go into like nutrition and fitness stuff instead. And she's like, I'm not going to be a doctor in the conventional sense anymore. So you need to go find another primary care. And, Justine, my wife, had hers, and I just kind of jumped on board there, and great doctor, and it's worked out well. But like, she waited. I didn't realize this. I called her the other day and I said, how long did it take? 6 months for her. And I mean, it's weird.
I guess maybe I'm just the old guy on the front porch where I thought your primary care physician was the one you went to when you got sick.
Yeah.
And a primary care physician is not the one that you go to when you get sick anymore.
No.
Apparently.
Well, I've got a teledoc.
That's urgent care now.
Yeah, I've got a teledoc, doc in the box type stuff. That's where a lot of people go because now once you're in with a doctor and you're set up, you can, but it's hard to beat the convenience of just like.
Can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
See,
once you're in with the doctor and you're an active
I'm not talking
patient,
about special treatment.
No, I'm not either.
I'm talking about just call up, hey, I'm sick. Can I get in this week?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've done it. I mean, maybe it's just
maybe
unique.
so. I don't know. Well, then how in the hell can you not see me until January? If I'm an existing patient and you're holding spots open for existing patients, then how can you not fit new patients in?
I guess it's just they've got such a volume that they've already got to deal with.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're saying that.
I don't know how two things can be simultaneously true.
You should have openings for people.
If Cameron can call, and I'm not casting aspersions. This is just the frustration that I have, and maybe it's just a lack of understanding at all. Where, okay, I can call my doctor and say, hey, I'm really sick. And they say, okay, well, it's Wednesday now. We can't see you till Monday. Okay, see me Monday. Well, if that's true, then that indicates to me that there have to be slots that you can fill.
I'm sure that they basically, when you're a doctor as part of a system, they say you can have this many active patients on your roster. And so you cannot add until they drop off.
Right. So they figured out the numbers, based on the number of patients they have, the number of people that they serve. They're like, well, we expect that we're going to see X number of existing patients per week. So we block that out. Whether they are filled or not, that's what they're there for.
Right.
And then we're only seeing this many new patients this day, this many new patients this day. And once those are filled, we're not going to expand that number.
Right. It's a data analytics thing.
I mean, I get it.
Well, and from a legal standpoint, you have a standard of care as a doctor. And so, we've seen this where do doctors mess up? When they're redlining, right? When they're doing too much, too fast, that sort of thing. And so I'm positive all of these health systems have, here's your patient load, here's what's reasonable to expect, that sort of thing.
And now I say, no. I say, docs, churn and burn them, baby. Churn and burn them. Let's go.
Is
that bad? Bell thinks that's
until
bad
they're
advice.
Operating on you.
Right. Well, right.
You want that guy
if
to
it's
go.
me, don't churn and burn me. Churn and burn the other guy so I can get in there before January.
Yeah, and it is. I will say that is one difference that I've noticed over time is that it used to be like you'd have a conversation with your doctor, like, hey, I'm gonna. Now it's what's wrong with you? What do we need to know? Check this. Boom, boom, go. Like now, I prefer that, but folks that like bedside manner, those days are gone.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Every time I have a conversation about the way old doctors used to be, I want you ever see the movie Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox? Where he gets stuck in the small town and he doesn't want to be in the small town and then eventually he stays in the small. The old doctor in that Doc Hollywood, I think about that old doctor and I think, man, I want that old doctor in my life. That old curmudgeon.
I had one doctor, she was the best doctor ever, but it was like NASCAR. I could not stop and she would be like, I got you. Okay, we're going to give you a shot of this and a dab of that. And I felt like I was in, she was the pit crew trying to figure out how to get me back on the road. And she was the perfect doctor for me.
That's good. There's a scene in Doc Hollywood, and I don't know why it gets me, but it does. And if you've ever seen the movie, you'll know it. And you'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that. And if you've never seen the movie, go see it. But it's that old actor that's the old doctor. And he's been a grump and a curmudgeon, and we don't like him for the whole movie. And then he softens up to Michael J. Fox's character, and he opens up, he's sick, and he opens up his cabinet, and you see all the children that he has birthed over the years. He's got pictures of them. And you realize that this is really a very kind old man. He's just grumpy and crotchety on the surface. And he says, you see that over there, Doc Hollywood? I wouldn't trade any of that for gold. And then he pauses and goes, well, maybe gold. Or cash money. I don't know why.
Or cash money.
Or cash money. We got to make some cash money. We'll be back in a moment and check in with Brian Wilson after this. Super Talk 99.7 WT. In a few more moments with you, we'll hand off to Brian Wilson. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk to Brian about that. What he's got going on. Hey, Brian Wilson.
With a worm on my tongue, as they say. Bated breath.
Bated breath. I've never heard the other one. Worm on my tongue.
Never heard of that.
Cameron is sitting in studio.
Being bait. It's just, I don't know. It's an old joke. I learned it when I was like 6.
It's like a minnow in the mouth.
Let me tell you, Brad, this, I heard you say something yesterday. And I am, I can't help but be right there with you. As much as I want to disagree with you, I was talking to Cameron about this too. I just have a bad feeling about anybody thinking that any of this is over by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm more and more watching this reclamation of this candidate to the point that I'm beginning to be concerned about. Thank you, Bill. I'm beginning to be concerned about the presidential election. Honestly,
I'm looking at numbers, and they're concerning to me. I expected that she would get a bump, but some of these numbers that are starting to trail in suggest to me that that there were a lot of Democrats out there who had a lot of problem with Joe Biden, and that there were a fair number of moderates who couldn't vote for Joe Biden. But now that Joe Biden is not the person, and now that she's being deified by the mainstream media, I'm talking about Kamala Harris. Yeah, I think a lot of people are swinging back the other way. I wonder, though, how long that will last, because when you really just play out the things that she has said, you're going to find that, maybe you don't agree with her. She's certainly not in what we would call mainstream political thought. She's far to the left, and I think that will turn off a lot of people, but it's going to take a little time for that to get absorbed.
What are we cranking up with today, Brian?
Well, there was a fascinating exchange as Trump appeared at the group of black journalists today, and I'm gonna lay it out there and let you see what you think about it. It's all coming up after the news at 3:00.
Can't wait to hear Brian Wilson coming up in mere seconds, right after Jay Harper's newscast. That is on the way until 7:00 tonight, live and local conversation. Until tomorrow, friends, where I finish up my portion of the week. Cameron's here on Friday. We'll say have a wonderful afternoon. Hug your loved ones. Listen up for the drive. So long, everybody.